Hello, my name is Owen. Today I'll be talking about my experience reading one chapter a day of War and Peace for the first 20 days. It may seem early, but I've already had so many discoveries and thoughts about this experience that I have to share them, and I can't wait 300 more days to share this information, especially because I think it might change as I progress through this story. So basically what I've been doing, I have this copy of War and Peace, and I've been reading a single chapter a day, and I did that for 20 days. So as you can see, after 20 days of reading the book, I'm on page 48, and I'm about to start chapter 21, so it works out. But reading 48 pages in 20 days, just a little over 2 pages a day, is a extremely slow reading pace, even for me reading a extremely old classic novel. However, it was a fascinating experience, and the main takeaway I have from this is there might be no better way to fully immerse yourself in reading. And it might seem weird because I'm spending so little time with these characters a day, but so basically the chapters in War and Peace are very short. Like some of them are barely even a page, some of them at most are 3 pages. So I would read probably for less than 10 minutes. I would read the chapter and maybe look through it and scratch in some notes about who is who and who's related to who, because there's a lot of characters already in the first 40 pages. And then I would stop. I wouldn't force myself to go any farther. I would just reflect on the chapter. And for those first 20 days, I made a little YouTube shorts about the quick summary of it and my thoughts vaguely about it. But that was mainly for me to just try to keep track, because I thought it might be hard if I'm only reading so little a day to remember what's going on. However, I did stop doing that because I missed a couple of days just because I was busy with other stuff. So I stopped making those videos, and I probably won't continue them because they weren't doing too great anyway, and they took a lot of time. More time for me to make the videos than to just read the chapter. But the main thing I found, like I said with the immersion, is that I'm already invested in these characters and their stories, and because I get so little of their stories each day, I'm grasping on to the smallest plot lines and thinking this is the craziest thing of all time. So one of the main things we're talking about here is the character of Pierre. He was introduced probably in the second or third chapter, and I'm already latched onto him. He's my buddy. I'm only 48 pages in. There's probably only 6 chapters that he appeared in, but I'm waiting for the Pierre chapters, and I think he's a very fascinating character. He's a fish out of water. He doesn't even know what he's doing. He's kind of dolty. He's kind of immature, but he's got intense, fiery political opinions. And I just like reading about him. But I just know that in this book, because how many pages is this book? Almost 1,000 pages. Who knows what's going to happen in the rest of the story? But I'm already Pierre's coming in. He's learning the ways a little bit. He's voicing his political opinion. And I thought the biggest storyline so far was the questioning about Pierre's inheritance, because his dad is sick. His dad might die, or dad very likely to die soon. But he's an illegitimate son, right? So is he going to get the fortune? Is it Prince Vasili's going to get the fortune? Is it the Rostovs going to come and try to steal the fortune? Is it Anna Mikhailovna going to come in and steal the fortune? Who? Everybody wants the fortune. I'm it's like an inheritance battle. What's going on here? And then in chapter 19, the Rostovs give Anna Mikhailovna the money, and they're don't worry about it. We know your heart, and we're going to help you out. So she's out of it now. She doesn't want the money anymore. And I guess it's still a debate whether Pierre's going to get it, because he just keeps consistently messing up and disappointing everybody in his family. But I'm invested in it, right? And I'm oh, well, it's over. That story's solved. That's great. And I look at the book and I'm that's not what this book is about. Clearly, it's not what the book is about. Because I think I just got to the point where the declaration of war is being made through the Russian government system. So they're thinking of whether or not when they want to go to war with Napoleon. Obviously, War and Peace, that's what the book is about. The book's not about Pierre's inheritance. Maybe it continues that plot line a little bit, but obviously that's not what War and Peace is about. But that is my only storyline, and it may sound boring to you, but just reading the story one chapter at a time and just sitting with a single chapter, it felt after 20 days, I had known Pierre for 20 days because I was ruminating on his existence and his mentality, and he's young, he's brash, right? That's why he's voicing all his political opinions in places where he shouldn't be. He's kind of getting pushback from the old guard and people who want to go to war with Napoleon and all that stuff. And it's fascinating. And I don't know if I should read every book one chapter a day. I don't know like the viability of that, because sometimes, you just got to read. You just got to read as fast as possible. But I'm already just like, I'm feeling so connected to these characters, and I have time to think about Tolstoy's prose. Like some of the things about the first couple of chapters is like the way that he introduces characters, because it's like it's new information, and it's one of the highlights of each chapter is like a new character enters, right? And when you're reading like 10 pages at a time, even, that's like 6 chapters. So maybe like the one character introduced in chapter 3 isn't as important, but for me, it's the most important thing I read that day in this book. And it's the way that he like subtly like digs at them, and just like he kind of like roasts their personality, just like their single phrases. Like there was a line with I can't remember his name off the top of my head. That's maybe that's an issue, but it's Prince Vasili's son. He's like kind of an idiot. So it's just like the line was something like, he's the type of guy that when he speaks, he doesn't even hear like what he said. Like he just doesn't think before he speaks, and he doesn't really know what he's saying, because he's just kind of a moron. And it's like, I love that. And I feel like if I would have been speeding through this book, like I just would have missed that completely. I just think it's cool. And I think it's an immersive way of reading, and I'm going to try to keep myself to that pace, even though I did miss a few days. Maybe I'll have to like catch up somehow, or maybe I just won't catch up. Maybe I'll just let the days fall as they may. But I just want to advocate for this reading style, because I'm barely into this book, literally barely. I'm not even like 5% into the book, and I'm invested in this world, in these characters, and I haven't even met probably a 10th of the characters that are important. That's all I was gonna say. That's all I was gonna say. Okay, when you're reading a classic and something's dense, something's supposed to be boring, like War and Peace, maybe take it slow. And everything just seems more interesting because you just don't get enough. And the fact that's like, oh, I wish I could read more. By stopping yourself, and that self-control makes it so much more enjoyable, and you can really dig into like Tolstoy's prose. And I'm starting to realize, oh, this guy's a pretty good author. Hot take. Tolstoy is pretty good. And I've read 48 pages of his book. That's all I gotta say. Let me know what you guys think about that.